Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Additional support is also provided by KR Models, daring to build the models that you want to see on your layout. Hi there everyone, welcome back to another video. It's really great to see you, and today we've come out to the North Yorkshire moors near Goathland and we're visiting TMC The Model Centre, and I'm really pleased to be joined here with Alex Yates from TMC, and thanks very much for inviting us over. And it's such a picturesque part of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be amazing actually working in this environment, and you've got the North Yorkshire Moors Railway literally at the bottom of the drive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how are you finding it working out here?
Well, when you pulled up, it's obviously not the most likely place for a model shop.
Yeah.
We are literally in the middle of nowhere, but a lot of people make the journey to come and visit us just because it's such a nice drive out, or
Absolutely,
they might be coming on holiday here. So, yeah, no, it's definitely a fantastic part of the world. And as we saw earlier, we just walked to the bottom of the driveway, didn't we, and saw the steam locomotive coming up past.
And it's like the sound of it as it's working hard was really great.
Yeah.
But TMC started quite some time ago, and actually over in Manchester, started out as the Trafford Model Centre at the Festival Village.
That's right.
Of the Trafford Centre.
Yeah.
And it's quite a journey from there to here. And you started out as that single shop and then expanded to pretty much be coast to coast from Liverpool almost all the way across to Hull.
Yeah.
So what made the change of tack from having the multiple shops to being much more specialist here?
Yeah, so it was never intended at all. So we lived near York, and the warehouses and everything for that business were set up around there. And then as we became part of Model Zone, they wanted to sort of decentralise and move everything down south. And my parents had just bought the site here with the holiday cottages, and we didn't want to do that. So we made the decision then not to go with the business with Model Zone down south. And a couple of the employees at the time said, well, why not buy the trade name back, and we'll set up just a small weathering service up in North Yorkshire. So, and
that's really what you've become very famous for, is the bespoke professional weathering that you've done. And
that's right.
Was this something that you'd done prior to this, or was this a new direction?
It was done prior, and it was all basically on customer request. So we had the shop in Manchester, and someone came along and said, wouldn't it be great if we could have that model with this name and number? So we started a renaming and renumbering service, and then people were like, well, that's not really prototypical, it should be dirty. So we started a weathering service, and I think weathering's always been something in model railways that people have done for themselves, but I think we were the first people to do it on a big scale, sort of commercially.
Yeah.
So
and of course, with having the means to have like the airbrushes that a lot of people might not necessarily have access to, it means that you can produce a really great effect on those models.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's really caught my eye, and actually when I was at the Doncaster show, you had in the cabinet on your stand the Graffiti Wagons, and these are incredible works of art. So tell me a little bit how you came about just moving into doing the graffiti as well as the weathering.
Yeah, again, some graffiti is something that people don't always look on fondly because it's vandalism in a sense, isn't it, in real life? But there is a massive following for it, and it wasn't a service we intended to do. Phil, our new weatherer, he's been with us about a year now, and he sort of just came out of the spray booth one day and said, what do you think to this? And we hadn't asked him to do it, or we hadn't had a customer ask us to do it. He just said, what do you think? And we were all blown away by it. So we said, well, we do a few for stock, and they started selling, and then we got a few people approach us saying, can we do a feature on it? And there we go. It's just taken off from there, really.
So I mean, it's one of those things that you've kind of almost found organically that there's a huge market there for it. And as you say, graffiti, like it or not, has become very much much a fact of life, certainly
Yeah.
in the inner city areas.
Definitely.
And when we were at Alexandra Palace, you'd even started expanding the range with the retaining walls,
Yeah.
which again, when you look at any built-up cutting into inner city areas, they do seem to be prime real estate for the spray artists. So really, it's a case of it's a fact of life, whether we like it or not, that graffiti is becoming really, really widespread. And I just love the way that you're offering more than just the rolling stock, such as the retaining walls. It's just such a great idea and leaves you wondering why nobody has thought of this before.
Yeah, well, I suppose, as you touched on, that you can get like decals, that you can put onto your models. The only problem is with those, you're limited to what is available, and also making them look realistic. You can almost tell it's a transfer.
Yeah.
So what we can do, or what Phil can do, is it completely bespoke. Everything's done by hand, designed from scratch, and he can do anything you want. Come to us with an idea, a picture, or just a description, and we'll put it into reality.
Absolutely, and it's an interesting idea that, like you say, rather than picking from a ready-made list of, we do offer this, this, and this, people can actually say, well, actually, could you graffiti it with this, and even send in a photograph of real graffiti, or even a piece of artwork or something that they want replicated in miniature. And I was blown away at Doncaster, some of the stuff that was inspired by the Banksy murals. They really are a work of art.
Yeah, that's it. And he was inspired by American graffiti, and he's actually used to do all that kind of stuff onto leather jackets and custom leather jackets.
Right.
So
Wow.
we're not limited to graffiti that's in the UK. We can literally do anything from anywhere in the world. So.
And it's not just stock items, it's people can send an item that they want
could do,
specifically.
we'll do anything they want. So
amazing. So one of the other things that when I was having a browse around in the shop itself really, really impressed me is just how much of a variety of stock that you carry. And there's a lot of ranges in there that quite often you don't generally see in model shops. How important was it for you to actually make sure that you had such a broad range of different products in stock at all times?
It's very important. And, when you browse on a website and you look through products, you don't want to click on several things and see either out of stock or available to order. We want to be able to deliver something next day if that's what the customer wants. And that's how it sort of expanded, really, because we were just the weathering service to start off with. And then we started to get a bit of stock because we thought we can have weathered items in stock. But then customers would say, well, I'd quite like some track to go with it. Or we basically just expanded the ranges. And into now, we want to try and stock everything all in one place.
But I mean, these are just wonderful things. I love them, but it's so hard to find anywhere with them in stock. And that's something, obviously, people may be familiar with seeing you at shows, that made me not realise that there's a fully stocked model shop behind what you have on display at shows, where you can buy everything from the track, the scenic materials, across a wide range of different manufacturers too. Yeah,
I think that's something a lot of people don't realise, that we are sort of a complete model shop as well as a weathering service. So.
And what sort of opening times do you have for the shop? When are you open?
The shop's open 6 days a week, so Monday through to Saturday, sort of 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. And I think we close at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. So we're open all week, really. So.
And quite happy for people to just turn up on spec and
that's
just
right,
visit.
yeah.
And so I guess if people are visiting things like the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, there's the Beckhole waterfall close by. There's actually quite a lot going on, so it's an ideal place to stop off whilst exploring the North Yorkshire Moors.
Yeah, and of course, famous fish and chips in Whitby as well.
Oh yeah, because we're not far from Whitby.
No, we're literally 15 minutes down the road. So
yeah, because you told me earlier on that you're actually commuting here from Whitby, and is that's must be quite a nice commute.
It is, yeah.
And what's the weather like here in winter? Because I can imagine it gets a bit snowy.
Yeah, well, we used to get really bad winters. You could sort of guarantee that you would get a few weeks of snow every winter. But I think increasingly that the planet is getting warmer, isn't it? So it's becoming less of an issue, which is probably good for staff getting into work. But yeah, it has been a problem in the past, and we do still get the odd bad winter. So it can be quite remote at times. So.
Absolutely. And one of the other areas that I think people are very familiar with is that you do a lot of commissions as well from manufacturers of wagons maybe in liveries that haven't been produced in the main range. I'm thinking in particular you've done stuff like the match trucks, which are perfect additions for going with things like the Class 3, 4 and 5 shunters. And what inspired you to move out into commissioning your own runs of wagons in this way?
So we always try to pick items that sort of haven't been done in the main ranges or maybe have been touched upon, but we maybe identify another livery that hasn't been done that could be popular. Either we've been asked by customers or our own research has sort of identified that it'll be good. So it's usually demand driven, or we think we've spotted a gap in the market, and you just have to sort of jump in with both feet really and see if it works. So,
and because you've also pioneered some of the items that have in some cases ended up in the main range, and it's almost like you've been the driving force for the manufacturer. I'm thinking in particular the Mark 1 horse boxes you did, and then the 22-ton plate wagons as well. I mean, do you feel that there's certain items of rolling stock like that where maybe the manufacturers need that little nudge to be able to bring them to the market for the modeler?
I think sometimes you come to them with an idea and they've maybe considered it but haven't maybe gone forward with it, or and they let you run with it, and you can do obviously like we did with the Mark 1 horse boxes. When we released them at first, there was at least 6 different varieties straight away, so it was sort of worthwhile them tooling up. It can be quite a good thing really.
And you've got forthcoming the G5 steam locomotive as well. I mean, is that quite a step up when you go from commissioning wagons to commissioning a locomotive? Is it a much bigger process?
Yeah, and it's a bigger commitment, financially, and the time of research that goes into it and everything. But we've had nothing but positive feedback. We've had the EP samples, so the sort of grey unliveried samples, and we're expecting the livery samples very soon. So we're expecting delivery April 2023.
Right.
So it's all coming along quite nicely.
So when you get the livery samples, are they going to be on display when you're at shows?
Hopefully, yeah. It depends. Sometimes backmen have to keep them for signing them off and looking at and seeing if there are any improvements needed. But if we're allowed to, we'd obviously hopefully keep them and show them off around the exhibition circuit. So,
and when's the next show that you'll be at?
The next one for us is the Great Electric Train Show in October. Right. So we do have a bit of a gap throughout the summer period, and tend to do most of our shows in the winter. So then we'll be back into it, because then there's Wally as well, which has been cancelled for the last couple of years.
I know,
it's
like with all the COVID lockdown, it's been there seems to be this huge pent up demand. I know you were at Doncaster in particular, and I don't know about you, but I found that show was really, really busy. It was actually really great to see how people were getting back into going to shows after basically nearly 2 years away from it.
Yeah, you almost couldn't tell there was a pandemic at all, was it? People were just straight back into the swing of things, really.
Absolutely. So. I know some of the retailers were actually running out of stock. It was, stuff was, it was like people were going there with this huge pent up spending power, which is really, really good for the hobby. But I mean, how have you found it through lockdown? Has it been difficult, or actually is it done quite well?
It's been strange, because at first, when obviously the government brought out the legislation, people weren't allowed, we were locked down, weren't we? So people couldn't come into work. But we were seeing increased levels of business online. So, the family, my parents, my sister, my brother-in-law, we all, and I think one member of staff who lived close was able to walk into work. We, between us, did the work of many more staff that should have, and everyone else was working from home. So they were doing it, all the behind-the-scene things, but we were having to work till late in the night just to get the orders out. It was very strange times, but we managed, so.
And I guess as well, during lockdown, a lot of people stuck at home needing things to do. Hobbies really did come back to the fore. And did you see any change in the demographic in terms of new areas of people coming through?
We were selling a lot of the accessories and everything you need to, start a layout. So I would say there's a lot of new people coming into the hobby, whether they just had more time on their hands or they're starting a new layout. It was good.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much for sitting down and having a little chat with us. And it's been great just to ask Alex a few ins and outs of TMC up here at Beckhole in the North Yorkshire Moors. Really, really picturesque area. And certainly, if you're visiting the North Yorkshire Moors Railway or Beckhole Waterfall, waterfall, or indeed any of the other attractions in this area, there is so much to do. It's well worth finding the time just to pop in and have a browse of what's actually a really incredibly well-stocked shop. You've also got a website. People can buy any of the items mail order. Where can they go to find that?
That's it. We're on themodelcentre.com. And as we've said, we're sort of 90% mail order. So although we've got the shop, we are very remote. We do rely on mail order, and everything's available online.
So thanks again for letting us come and have a look around. And until next time, you guys take care, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. Additional support is also provided by KR Models, daring to build the models that you want to see on your layout. Check out their website today and see some of their award-winning models, as well as their forthcoming masterpieces in miniature. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, Alan Dickerson, Eddie Popper, Karen Nichol, Medwin Williams, Crossways Point Junction, 3B Rail, and Jennifer Garrett. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.